The world is heating up faster than anyone imagined. Forests are burning, oceans are rising, and entire cities are drowning. But despite decades of promises, climate conferences, and global pledges, the planet continues to spiral toward disaster. Scientists are warning that if we don't act now, we could soon cross a point of no return. A world that is 2.6 degrees Celsius, hotter than today. COP stands for Conference of the Parties, an annual United Nations meeting where almost every country on Earth gathers to decide how to protect our planet. COP30 is taking place in Belém, Brazil, the gateway to the Amazon rainforest, a symbol of life and oxygen for our world. Inside massive conference halls, leaders discuss how to cut emissions, fund green energy, and adapt to a rapidly changing climate. But behind those glowing screens and diplomatic smiles, one truth echoes. The planet is running out of time. Each year brings the same promises of action, yet global emissions keep rising. This summit was meant to be a turning point, a moment of accountability. But for many, COP30 is not just another meeting. It is the last chance to prove that human cooperation can still outpace human destruction. Because beyond the Amazon's green canopy, the world is watching and waiting for something real. 2.6 degrees Celsius. It sounds tiny, almost insignificant, right? But that small number could change everything we know about life on Earth. At 2.6 degrees, the Arctic loses nearly all its ice each summer. Coastal cities like Mumbai, Karachi, and Jakarta begin to sink under rising seas. Crops fail, rivers vanish, and the heat outside becomes so intense that working in the day turns deadly. Imagine entire communities forced to move, not because of war or politics, but because their homes are literally unlivable. This is what scientists mean by tipping points. Once we cross them, nature won't go back to normal. It will spiral into chaos. And the worst part, we already see the beginnings of it: unpredictable rain, wildfires in places that never burned before, and heat waves killing thousands. That's what 2.6 degrees really means. A future where our planet still exists, but our way of life doesn't. Outside the COP30 conference gates, the streets of Belém are alive with voices chanting, singing, crying for justice. Thousands of protesters from around the world have gathered: students, scientists, farmers, and indigenous leaders from the Amazon. They carry banners that read, "Save our future and people before profit." For them, climate change isn't a conference topic. It's a daily reality. Rising floods destroy their homes, and smoke from forest fires chokes their children. Inside, delegates debate numbers and deadlines. Outside, people are fighting for their right to breathe. One activist from Brazil shouted, "We're protecting the planet for you, but who's protecting us?" Their voices don't just echo in the streets, they echo in our minds. Because behind every chart and climate report, there are real faces. The ones already living the future we fear. Inside the grand halls of COP30, leaders take the stage one by one, their words polished, their tone hopeful. They promise a just transition away from fossil fuels, billions in green funding, and a global crackdown on climate disinformation. The media calls it a historic moment, but if you listen closely, it sounds familiar. The same pledges we heard at COP29, COP28, and every summit before. Behind closed doors, negotiations turn tense. Oil-rich countries want more time. Poorer countries demand more money. And as they argue, emissions keep rising outside. For some, these conferences are a sign of progress. For others, they're a cycle of empty words. Because what good are agreements on paper if the planet keeps burning? Maybe the real test isn't in their speeches, but in what they do once the cameras stop rolling. While leaders shake hands in Brazil, millions of people across Asia, Africa, and Latin America live the consequences of climate failure every day. Floods sweep away villages in Bangladesh, droughts star fields in Kenya, and heat waves turn Delhi into an oven. These are not future problems. They're happening now. Developing countries say they can fight climate change without financial help from the nations that caused it. But the money promised in past summits rarely arrives. The gap between words and action keeps growing, and so does the suffering. This is the uncomfortable truth of COP30. For some countries, climate change is a debate. For others, it's a death sentence. Until we close that gap, no treaty can save us. Because a warming planet doesn't negotiate. In the end, COP30 isn't just about governments, it's about us. Every decision we make today, the energy we use, the products we buy, the leaders we elect, shapes the world. Our children will inherit. Change doesn't only come from summits. It comes from people who refuse to give up. Imagine a future powered by clean energy, cities wrapped in green, and rivers that run clear again. It's still possible, but not for long, because every year we delay, the earth warms a little more, and hope melts a little faster. So, as the COP30 summit ends, one question remains. Will this be remembered as the moment humanity chose profit over survival, or the moment we finally decided to fight for our home? The choice, as always, is ours. 2.6 degrees might not sound like much, but it's the difference between survival and collapse. It means summers so hot that stepping outside could be dangerous. It means floods, washing away cities that took centuries to build. It means millions forced to leave their homes, not because of war, but because of heat, drought, and hunger. And while all this is happening, world leaders have once again gathered, this time in Brazil, for the COP30 Climate Summit, a summit that could decide the fate of our planet. Câmeras flash, speeches echo, and powerful nations talk about change. But outside those air-conditioned halls, the real world is burning. People are angry. Farmers are losing crops. Rivers are drying up. And the ones who did the least to cause this crisis are paying the highest price. So the question isn't what world leaders will say next. The real question is, will this time be any different? Because if the Earth is already heating faster than we think, then time might already be running out.